Happy Friday, everyone, and welcome to the, I don't know what number of episode this is. Is it 20?
I think so. Oh my God, we have something to celebrate?
Yeah. It's it's the 20th episode, and it has been a very eventful week with the AWS Summit and HashiCorp trying to steal its thunder with Terraform 1.0, something we didn't really believe would come out anytime soon.
But it's out.
And we have some really special guests today. We have Stuart Moulton, Windows specialist from AWS, and Dob. Both of them, as you probably know, have worked in AWS. So we're planning to dissect the AWS Summit together. Stuart, do you want to say a few words about yourself?
Yeah, sure. No problem at all. Hello, everybody. Great to have you tuning in. Stuart Moulton. I'm a Windows specialist in AWS, so I'm part of a specialized team working with partners to move Windows workloads onto AWS and enjoy all the services. HeleCloud being one of those specialist partners for us.
Good to have you here, Stuart. And
Yes.
Dob is our CEO and Chief Cloud Officer. He has already been a guest with us, and I hope will come visit again soon. Dob, what did you take out of the summit as the really important trend?
Well, you don't invite me very often. That's the reason why I've only been here once before, and now it's my second time. And I actually thought that we already in the triple digits when it comes to editions of these shows, and you're suggesting that it's only the 20th. So I've not missed that many. That makes me happy and proud. But thank you very much for the invitation. Always a pleasure and honor to be here. I think it's clear that AWS, and that's been the case for a couple of years now, is beyond its embryonic or infancy days, and is going into the mainstream. Large enterprise organizations are going all in. It's not a question of small organizations venturing and making the first steps into cloud and trying things here or there. It's not mid-market trying technologies in the periphery. We've got large enterprises, large international organizations moving all into AWS. And with that maturity comes, of course, a very different tone and a very different pace at which AWS are going to be releasing features, and the type of features that we are going to be seeing is going to be very different as well. A lot of the things that we used to be very excited about in the past are now business as usual, and that's the reason why, as you've probably seen at the AWS Summit, the majority of the announcements were really adding new momentum behind existing services and existing topics. And of course, a lot went into the Amazon Connect space. And it's great to see Amazon venturing or AWS venturing, and probably not just venturing, conquering the IP contact center space, which has been ripe for disruption for many years. And it's great to see all the innovation taking place there and the adoption that we're seeing. Clearly, artificial intelligence and machine learning for the last 30 years has mostly been a topic that people have been excited about, but it used to live in PowerPoints. What is happening at the moment is organizations pumping data into data lakes. They're storing this data into cloud, and they're deriving intelligence from it. And that's starting to happen. So now is the time when artificial intelligence and machine learning is moving from PowerPoint into actual code and is processing actual data. And I think it's really exciting to see the scale at which that is happening. And again, testimony for that, of course, were all the customers that attended the summit and then spoke about their journey to the cloud. I think it's really exciting to see that adoption is picking pace. And of course, it's great to see AWS continuing to lead the public cloud market. So a lot to be excited about, but in a very different way. It's mostly because of the mass adoption and the mainstream nature of what we're seeing, and far less about the little feature or checkbox here or there.
I guess that's similar to what reInvent has been doing the last couple of years. The really like mind blowing stuff, like introduction of Lambda, has been a few years, and that's not because there's nothing happening at AWS, but because the market that they're speaking to is different, and the large building blocks have been tackled. So now you have the more esoteric stuff like a blockchain applications, but the reality is that the set of companies for whom Lambda is interesting is a lot larger than for the set of companies for whom blockchain is a thing that they can make viable use of. So that's absolutely, I think.
I think you've both picked upon a really good point there, which is the breadth of services that AWS has, much more than any other cloud provider. In that, if you're going to look at artificial intelligence, you need to use those services in order to get the most out of what you're trying to achieve. And also the Internet of Things, we've got a bit of a perfect storm going on with the scalability, the efficiency, the cost savings that you get from the AWS cloud platform, along with the continued adoption, for example, of the Internet of Things. Scaling up from a proof of concept of 10,000 devices up to 10 million devices when it goes into production. You can't do that in an on-premise data center. It does need to be in the flexible environment of the cloud, the scalable environment of the cloud. And those services are the cream on top of that. It's and AWS is innovating all the time.
And can you talk a little bit what you see happening as a Windows specialist? Can you talk a little bit about what you see in the Windows space there?
Yeah, certainly. So there's still a very, very high percentage of Windows in on-premise environments, and we see an amount of that, and I think an amount of that moving into the cloud. But I think the terrible pandemic that we've had across the world over the last 18 months has meant that companies and organizations are looking at their current business environments, the current way that they go to market, and they're thinking, can we do it better? Can we be more efficient? Can we make cost savings? And one of the things, because of the ubiquitous nature and the embedded nature of Windows on premise, one of the things they look at straight away is moving Windows into the cloud, and not just then that migration piece, but how can we make those licenses more efficient when they land in the cloud? And then how can we modernize those onto open source Linux, other, non-core, more open source type environments and make even more savings? So, I'm working with customers at the moment with HeleCloud in order to make their environments more efficient because the business paradigm has changed because of the terrible pandemic. They're looking to do things differently.
Somebody asked me this week, a journalist in an interview asked me this week whether I think the pandemic changed things, and the answer is a little bit obvious. But for me, the pandemic itself is not the driver. It was more of a wake-up call or an accelerator for companies to say, hey, maybe we should relook at this thing, because something that we never really imagined could be a vector in failure of the ecosystem around us is now all of a sudden a thing. So maybe we should look at having maximum flexibility, and I think that's really what happened.
Yeah, absolutely right. Inflection point for business, and movement to the cloud is always successful when it's driven from the top and it's driven throughout the culture of the company. And that realization that there's a different way of doing things, a more flexible, agile, cost-effective way of doing things, is something that when companies had to move their employees to work from home and all of those things, and Dob has mentioned Connect, all of those things meant that companies looked at their business models and thought, how can we make a change? How can we do this differently? And AWS is there with the services and all the facilities to support that, along with HeleCloud.
Yep. And if we zoom in a little bit specifically to the summit this week, we talked about it before the show a little bit. The summit isn't really like reInvent, where it's a continuous barrage of announcements. It's more of a reinforcement of the existing how to say that strategy and the existing things that are coming out of AWS. What I really particularly liked is that if you look at, for instance, the agenda for so there were 2 days for those of you who couldn't attend. Actually, 3 days. One was a partner day, was only for partners, and then there were 2 days. One was a builders day, and one was an innovation day. And what I really liked was the split between the personas of the people who are attending. So if you're looking at these 2 days, Builders Day is for the technologists, the people that want to learn about the hard technology, and then Innovation Day is for the people who are on the business side, by and large, for people who are on the business side. And the Builders Day agenda, when you look at it, also is then divided into streams that are not stream 1 through 7, but a stream. I'm a solutions architect. I'm a data scientist. I'm a security professional, and that really makes it quite nice, because you know immediately which of these streams you want to go and look for the sessions in. So quite happy to see that.
Yeah, I think it's really important, and a lot of AWS services, for example, in machine learning, are aimed at different levels of where customers, where businesses, organizations, and individuals want to take that particular service. So I think it was important to us to make sure that we don't relate to a time slot. We relate to a person and what they are trying to achieve in their career, in their day job.
Indeed. I was also quite excited to see, and it's an old topic, but I think it was very well placed in the summit as well. The topic for return on innovation rather than return on investment, and similar to Stuart, I have been I grew up in the world of Microsoft's back office products. I've been an MCSE since 1995. Grew up with Windows NT, SQL Server, Microsoft Exchange, SNS Server, you name it. And of course, back in those days, innovation was for companies such as Microsoft to create new products, to establish a new way of working. And organizations would be buying this innovation in boxes, installing it in their data centers, and leveraging such innovation, but that someone else was creating it at that point. And then there was Linux, and then there was the open source movement in the early 2000s, and there was a different stream of innovation, but it was always someone else's innovation that people were following. What is happening today, and that's of course the paradigm of cloud, changing the way we consume IT services and the way we do business, and the whole relationship between business and IT. It's very, very different. Today, you're not going to buy anything in a box. If you need the right service management tool, you're probably going to use ServiceNow or a similar product, software as a service fashion. It doesn't come in a box. It's someone else that is providing these services to you, and you're consuming the services. You're not consuming the products at all. If you need to equip your sales team with a CRM tool, you're probably going to go to Salesforce or Sugar CRM or another CRM system, but again, you're going to consume it in a software as a service fashion. And there is plenty of other products as well, which have taken away the boxes from us, and there is no longer the need to manage such products and upgrade them, update them, etc. They sit in someone else's cloud, and we are consuming them. And then everything that is left to us is really what is the core of our business, and that's exactly where innovation counts. Organizations are developing software much more than they used to do before. They've got in-house software development teams, they've got partner software development teams, but they're creating software which is specific to their core business, and therein lies the value of innovation and, of course, the value of IT. It is creating the unique intellectual property and the unique competitive advantage that these organizations need. So cloud really helps us focus on innovation and, of course, on return on innovation and maximizing that through sending everything which is not something that we treasure as our intellectual property into someone else's cloud, and allowing us in our own public cloud on AWS, build all the innovation that we need to be competitive. That's the way I personally read and want to look at return on innovation. It was great to see that in the context of the summit as well.
Do you think, that organizations are making better products now that a lot of them are using the cloud? Does a lot of innovation mean better products?
Well, I'm not sure whether they're building better products, but I think they are in a position to innovate much faster, make mistakes much faster, fail faster, and ultimately improve these products, even if they're suboptimal initially, much faster as well, or completely abandon these products if they no longer need them or if they're not adding the value. Hence the agile movement, and of course the drive for short feedback cycles and continuous iteration and continuous innovation to help organizations achieve exactly that. Unlike the olden days, and again, that probably discloses a lot about my age as well, unlike the olden days where software teams would lock themselves in a basement and spend 2 years delivering a great product, and they would have everything that they wanted to deliver drafted on whiteboards, and there would be a lot of buzz, but actually no customer interaction whatsoever. And then when you see the light, when that product sees the light a day, 2 years down the line, the market has shifted and 50% of the requirements are different from what they expected to see. Now, you are going to start with a suboptimal product, but you're probably going to be running 1, 2, 3, 4 week sprints. You'll be receiving constant feedback, and you'll be able to make decisions and take corrective actions much faster. So no, the products, at least initially, are not that good at all. Actually, they're probably far worse than those that have been planned for 2 years. But they naturally, and through natural selection, end up ultimately in the fullness of time being better products. Would you agree with that, Lina, or were you challenging that statement because you had a different view?
No. I think they do have the capacity to get better. As someone who has their experience in support, I guess I've always disliked that innovation means adding new features and not doing maintenance. But it's a totally different topic on how you prioritize your backlog and what a good product means, and the whole balance between adding something new and improving something existing. It's interesting also how AWS are doing it, because sometimes you see a service developing, and then when you expect that the next feature is going to be added, it's actually added to a separate service that sits next to it and works with it. So, yeah,
I think that's the added layer of complexity. There are many things that make things easier, but one of the added layers of complexity, at least from HeleCloud's perspective, is that so we work with a lot of pieces of a solution that come from different organizations. So we have obviously the customer with their requirements and their application that they want us to either build or maintain, or infrastructure that they want to build. Then we have our own people. Then we have usually it's Terraform that we're using, that's innovating, and then we have another piece that's AWS. And for us, the big trick is to be able to have people that are smart and skilled enough to actually match all of this together, because it's a crazy fast moving world, and match all of that together, and then still deliver value to customers. And the other thing I wanted to say is goes back to Dob's story a little bit. The fact that we don't have to worry that much anymore about maintaining, let's say, racks of servers and a network, a physical network, is great. And we provide that's the shared responsibility that AWS has, which is super great. It means that all of a sudden I haven't thought for like 5 years about things like patch cables or anything to that respect, and it's really not experience or knowledge that I miss having. So these kind of things are really useful, and we provide the same value to our customers, where we say, hey, how about you let us worry about the AWS infrastructure, because by now you need a PhD to do the whole thing correctly, and we have 90 of those people. So how about you let us worry about the AWS stuff, and in partnership with both AWS and the customer, we build a good application. I think that specialization is really helpful.
I think the other thing is with AWS and the close, the massively dynamic partner network that we've got, which is testament to the Partner Summit, getting all of those partners together. Those partners are trying to innovate as well, and they're trying to be predictive as to what the next thing is that customers are going to require, as well as AWS is pioneering. We consider ourselves pioneers at AWS as well as innovators, and we released 2,757 different features and new services in 2020, trying to predict what customers might ask for, as well as thinking on our own, how can we move these other services on and advance them. So you've got the advantage of the whole. You've got the whole who are trying to innovate on behalf of the customer, which I think when you compare to an on-premise environment that was just described with the patch cables and trying to worry about security, etc., and all the other things, you just don't get the bandwidth to do that when you are standalone and responsible for that on-premise environment.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I think it's a good tie-in to one of the non-AWS topics that we wanted to discuss this week. Obviously, there was a big outage with Fastly, and the interesting part there is actually that for a company like us in the older days, everything would have been on fire. But now, actually, because Fastly is responsible for repairing their infrastructure, the worst we had to do was explain to our customers that hey, if you look here on the BBC front page, you see also that this thing is happening, and that was the extent of work that we had from it. And coincidentally, in this case, Fastly is widely commended for how well they communicated throughout the whole outage. And I think that's really important, especially considering that they're one of those silent drivers of a large part of the internet. It's I think between Fastly and probably AWS, a lot of critical content on the web is served by just two organizations actually. And it's quite, for me, it was quite interesting to have a reminder on how fast this actually is.
Mm-hmm. Indeed, and in the words of Amazon CTO Werner Vogels, everything fails all the time. So whatever we do, it is inevitable that things are going to fail. And what is really important, as is the case in life, is not that we never fail, but how quickly we can stand back up and continue to do what we had been doing before we failed. And I think it's really impressive to see the resilience of such systems, or modern, at least, IT systems. That wasn't the case back in my days, but recovering from an outage within 20 minutes, such a significant outage is of course very, very important. Yes, it does cause inconvenience for the periods of time that services are down, and people are going to complain about it, and I would as well. I think I also did. But it's really impressive how resilient IT has become, and such services which are critical for our daily lives are not going to disappear for days. Such intermittent outages happen and people recover. That also highlights the importance of people establishing business continuity and disaster recovery plans. I think cloud has spoiled all of us a lot by providing a lot of built-in resilience and availability. But it's still the responsibility of all these organizations running their applications on AWS and HeleCloud platforms to assess their business needs, assess the duration of such outages that they're able to tolerate, assess the amount of data that they, God forbid, are able to tolerate losing without a significant impact to their business and create proper business continuity and disaster recovery plans. AWS has made availability and resilience ridiculously cheap and affordable, unlike traditional data centers. And therefore, creating such a plan is not a recipe for a huge spend on resilience. It is the duty and really the foundational diligence that organizations need to have when it comes to their applications. And it's extremely easy afterwards to model and architect your applications to the level of availability and resilience that you desire. And yes, again, everything fails all the time. I'm sure that many of our listeners and viewers today have got systems that they need to design business continuity and disaster recovery for. Be brave, create your business continuity and disaster recovery plans, and you'll be surprised how easy and affordable it is to make your systems available, highly available on AWS.
And that also massively changed, right? We used to have these failover data centers. You just have an entire data center sitting there just running for the sake of it, because once every blue moon it may go wrong in the primary data centers. Crazy.
I have to say, I agree that it's a spoiling experience, and I myself don't think about outages since I joined HeleCloud and have started working on AWS. But we use Office 365, and that's a humbling experience because it's a constant reminder that things can be on the cloud and not be super resilient at the same time. And it just reminds you to retest the failover and remember that incidents happen.
I think that failure is the most interesting thing that I've learned in the last 20 years. Designing for when things go well is only a small piece of the puzzle, but designing for failure, that's really where things get interesting, and where engineering capacity is really challenged to think properly. How can this system fail, and what are we going to do when that happens?
Yeah. Precisely, and the scalability that you get with the AWS cloud, the number of zones, the number of edge devices, the number of regions in particular is absolutely unmatched. And then on top of that, absolutely call out that testing. It's failure is part of success as far as we're concerned at AWS. It's part of the culture. That's what you learn from. So keep testing.
Yeah, definitely.
Time, because we only have a few minutes left. I want to at least mention Terraform 1.0. I'm wearing my HashiCorp t-shirt that I got 3 years ago.
Dress up.
In my first week at HeleCloud, I was sent to Hashi Days, it was called at the time. It wasn't HashiConf yet. I don't remember what version of Terraform was back then, but I had just left the company that was developing software for the aviation industry. So to me, it felt as if last week I was living in the past, and this week I've traveled 20 years into the future. Unfortunately, that's not the feeling you get when reading the release notes of Terraform 1.0. It doesn't seem to be as big of a breakthrough. I think Terraform 0.12 was more exciting until you got to the part where you had to upgrade. But it's still a very important milestone.
Yeah, I think Mitchell tweeted about some of the stuff that they are committing to, and I think that's the really big part. They're committing to support for the next 5 years or 10 years. They're committing to state files being compatible across all 1.x versions. Those are huge commitments, and they didn't want to make them until they were ready for it. And I very much respect that. And even though it took 10 years and half the planet is using Terraform for all things, they stuck to their story of until we feel that the quality is there to warrant a version 1.0, we're not going to call it 1.0. I respect that type of.
Mitchell and Arman are two amazing individuals, and it's amazing that the story behind them and their products of how they started off. They started writing this when they were university students, and I was like, how can you write something that fixes corporate level problems without having worked at a corporation? How do you get that in your head? It was mind-boggling, and yeah, they're great. If you haven't talked to them, just go to a Hashi conference, and they're very approachable and amazing individuals.
Here is where your marketing money is going, Dave McJanet. I'm sure you are listening.
All right, and our time is up. So what we normally do is we give our guests 2 minutes to promote ideas that they hold dear, or themselves, or anything else that they want to say to our audience. Stuart, do you want to go first?
Yeah, my call out to the audience would be, please look at your Microsoft licensing estate. Talk to your partner, HeleCloud, for example. Have an optimization license assessment. Look how you can make efficiencies and consider moving to the cloud. And we'll welcome you when you arrive.
I'll pile on top of that, Stuart, if I may. Amazon Web Services, the AWS platform, has been and continues to be the best place to run your Microsoft workloads. And again, we spoke about the affordability of availability and resilience on AWS. You'll be surprised how affordable it is to move your Microsoft workloads, Windows in particular, but also various other workloads onto the AWS platform, and to what degree that exercise has been de-risked through existing frameworks and tooling. So come and talk to Stuart or us, and we'll make sure that we help you make such a decision and help you on the journey, of course, of moving your Microsoft infrastructure and applications onto AWS.
Thank you very much, Stuart and Dob, for visiting our podcast this week. I want to finish saying that we're hiring at HeleCloud. We're looking for a few interesting security profiles, an information security officer, a cloud security engineer, as well as the usual cloud ops and DevOps engineers. So if you like what you're seeing, apply and work for really top-notch technologies.
Yes. Awesome. Thanks, guys, for joining. Thanks, Lena, for number 20. We somehow I was thinking about it. Actually, Dob, you're the first one that is a double guest in 20 episodes. So it was quite nice to see that we managed to get 20 episodes full of 2 guests every single time with unique people. So for me, that's really cool.
Good to hear, and I hope I make it to the 3rd time as well after today's performance.
Yeah, we'll invite you every 10 episodes.
Sounds good, Sven. I'll be here.
All right. Have a good Friday.
Thanks, Stuart. Thanks, everyone. Cheers.
Okay.
Bye.